can actually get, they can kick us all out if they want to tear it down, that type of a thing. So it's very uncertain. But we want to recruit and retain our teachers in Palo Alto, and every school district feels that way. I mean, it's great teachers, and we see so many who are talking about leaving because they just can't afford the area anymore. So, the supervisor's committee is, going to be building that teacher housing or wants support to be proposing it.
Proposing it on the courthouse.
Right. And I think it's a step. It's definitely a great first step. It's for the whole county, so it'll help a few of our teachers as well as other teachers in the area. But I just think more needs to be done.
It's a few years off. So
yes, it's definitely a few years off. Oh, it's not. No, I don't expect that. But it's addressing a need that is out there, and I think that's one way to address it. I think there's other ways we need to.
How else do you think we should address it?
I think trying to find programs that help teachers save and for down payment and purchase would be great.
GI program.
Yeah, kind of like that. Also, I'm sure there's plenty of members of all the different communities that have in-law apartments and things like that maybe they might want to rent to a teacher at a slightly below market rate to help them out. Things like that might help.
We do have like ADUs. I mean, there aren't that many, unfortunately, but there have been people who've been building ADUs. I'm not sure necessarily for that intent, but just to try to increase the housing supply.
Right. And I do feel like, there's a lot out there. Everyone said we need more housing. Well, there's tons being built. You can just go up El Camino and see tons of apartment complexes going up. The problem is they're not affordable for anybody in our, age bracket.
Well, what happens though is as apartments being built, right? Like new ones, they're actually very expensive to renovate.
Yeah.
But what it does is it does put downward pressure on rents for older apartments, right? So the new apartments are not necessarily going to be like that cheap, but what happens is, as you have more supply, the rents of the other apartments in other areas start to drop just because they can't compete with that brand new apartment.
Actually, I think they're going up.
Well, that's because there's more demand. That's why.
I mean, because even they are.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, if you build more, generally, everything else equal, it will cause the prices for other ones to drop. Just in terms of price, like
we haven't seen that, I will say,
well,
because I'm looking around too,
there's
just
a lot
in
of demand,
case. Yeah. So.
Yeah. If the demand was the same, then yes, but demand is going up too. So.
Yes. So it's not really helping. And I'm a veteran teacher, so I've been at it a while, and my salary. In the Bay Area, 18 years, 24 years altogether.
Like which school districts?
Just all in Palo Alto since I lived here.
And
then I taught in Connecticut, all 18 years in Palo Alto, and then I taught in Connecticut before moving here.
Wow, okay. Just out of curiosity, what's your thoughts about the new superintendent?
We're excited.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
We don't know him very well, so but I'm very excited to work with him.
Which schools have you taught at?
I taught at just Nixon and then Addison. But most of my career has been at Addison. I took a small break and taught in Wales for a year.
Where?
In Wales on a teaching exchange.
Fulbright.
Yes,
wow.
In the UK.
Okay.
So,
wow. Okay. How was that?
Amazing. Great experience.
How's teaching different there than here?
It was more prescribed there. It's getting more prescribed here, unfortunately. Taking some of that creativity out of it, but luckily I still think we get to put a little creative spin more so, but otherwise, kids are kids. I taught the same age level. And
which grade?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Oh wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and but it was amazing, and just like here, every family wants best for their child and best education. So
yeah, well, I think from the parent point of view, you feel like a lot of people are kind of barely get in here, right? I mean, they feel like they put everything they can to get into the community, right? And and so the expectation is really high because in some ways people are paying a lot, right? And so unfortunately, I think that puts a lot of pressure on the teachers, perhaps, right? In terms of expectations.
Yeah, it can. But we have such a supportive community here,
Yeah.
so the parents do put a lot into it
Sure.
and help so much compared to other places. Even though I taught in Connecticut, which the state gives more to per student, it wasn't a very wealthy area, and
Do they actually get more per student than Palo Alto does per student?
the state,
Oh, the state does.
the state
Okay.
does overall.
Okay. Okay.
Palo Alto is basic aid, so we actually don't get as much from the state anyway.
No, but I was thinking
But
total per student.
comparatively, no, that's what I'm saying. Like the parents here more than make up for that. So it's pretty amazing.
Where do most of the teachers live?
It's all over the place. There are a lot of teachers who live in Palo Alto but got in very early, and some of those teachers are retiring or going to be retiring. We have teachers in Morgan Hill, in Gilroy, just all over Daly City, just spread out a lot in San Jose and I would say South San Jose. So commutes are crazy, and so teacher housing just helps in that it keeps teachers closer and in the community. It helps with traffic because you don't have as many people on the road. You can stay at school longer. I mean, those teachers that have those long commutes, they have to leave as soon as they can. Otherwise, if they get out just a little bit later, it adds an hour on their commute.
What about teacher housing on school property?
I think that's a great idea as well, if it can be done.
Like, what if there's residential units above? Because a lot of the school is just single story, right?
Right.
What if you?
I don't know that you want to be that close necessarily, but on different campuses and things like Coverly or I know there's extra space at Gunn.
Well, I mean, because that was like the ultimate commute, right? You just walk downstairs. Right?
True,
So,
but also everyone can find you at every moment.
well, I mean, it's not like not like they have a passcode.
No, I know.
Like that,
Yeah,
but,
I mean, anything that helps would be great, especially those newer teachers coming into this area. As it is, like I said, being a veteran teacher and knowing how hard it is to afford it on my salary, new teachers, if they don't have a second income coming in, it's hard. And yes, they can have roommates and this and that, but just how long can you do that for?
Well, I think actually it's not just teachers, but a lot of young professionals when they start out. I mean, I don't care what profession you are, especially in this area, they have to have a roommate, right? I mean, even when I started, I had a roommate too because it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard.
It is.
The thing with having teacher housing at the courthouses, there's no schools there, right? So that's why I was bringing up the idea of should teacher housing be on school property, right? But literally, because a lot of school property, a lot of the schools is just single story. Imagine if instead of Addison, right, there was apartments right above the school in Addison, right? So that makes it very easy because no commute for teachers. Right?
True. Yeah. I mean, I would think I never really even thought about it, so it would be something to really think about. I was thinking more on things like I said, where we have extra land.
We don't have a lot of extra land. That's a problem. So that's why I was just thinking about how we're. I think teacher housing is something that we I think so I think most people move to Palo Alto for the great schools, and that means you want great teachers, right? And you want to attract and retain great teachers, right? And housing is definitely something that could be a hindrance, right? So how do you do that, right? What do you put? Because if you want to have affordable teacher housing, I mean, just put this from the city perspective. I don't follow the school budget as much, the school district budget, but for the city budget, we are barely squeaking by, right? So it's not like we have hundreds of millions of dollars that are just invest in teacher housing and make it low cost. That doesn't. I mean, unless we get some massive grant from other agencies, there's no whole money sitting around for this. So, and the biggest cost actually is the land, right? And so, how do you acquire the land for something like this, right? So if it's like a county courthouse, then maybe, right? Or if it's like a existing school property, then it's a lot easier. But how do you think that the community would feel about that?
About building apartments on top of schools? I really don't know. I mean, it just depends probably on the community. I know height restrictions, things like that.
But it would just be a second story.
You're not going to really get much housing if you're just going one story.
What if you go above the classroom?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're only going one story up, you're not going to get a lot of housing at each.
So let's take
school
Addison
site.
as an example. I know you're not necessarily an architect, but how many units do you think you get above? Let's say we did 1 bedroom units. How many 1 bedroom units do you think you get above Addison, above the schools? I mean, above the classrooms.
Yeah. I 15, 20 maybe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're talking about, not a
Yeah.
studio, which one I would hope you're talking
I'm just
about.
talking-
Yeah.
I think there should be some studios. There should be a mix of housing, probably, right? So it's not just all one type. But what if? Okay, let's just say, what if it was studios? What would you guess? For the number of classrooms. Like, I actually
The number
haven't-
of classrooms.
Yeah.
Some of the classrooms are on the small side there, so I'd say 20 if you're
20.
talking about
Studios.
studios, probably. Yeah.
Okay. I wonder. I mean, maybe that's something we could create a poll on, right? Is like how would the community feel about having housing above schools, right, for the teachers?
Mhm.
Because to me that's like the ultimate. Because like if let's say we do it at the courthouse, teachers still need a car or a bike. I mean, maybe they can bike, I suppose, but it's like if let's say you're at the courthouse and you work at gun, you're gonna have to either, I guess you could bike it, maybe, or drive, right? And so that doesn't really, they drive, it doesn't really cut down the traffic, right? You still,
Not on local streets, no.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's going to be as easy. You cut down commuting traffic,
Yeah.
on highways and different things like that, definitely, because obviously the more local people are. I actually used to live a block from Madison, so I would walk to
Oh, you used to live
every
a block?
day. I used to. I building was sold and my rent was raised to 30%,
So how
so
do
I
you
had to leave.
how do you like living in Malibu versus Palo Alto?
I loved living in Palo Alto. I could walk to work. I was part of the community. I could stay later if I needed to. Not that Mountain Beach that far, so I can still stay.
I think that's a big
But-
plus, right? Because I think teaching is not an easy job, and it's something that the community really values. So I think it's trying to create a poll on this to see. But what do you think teachers would feel like if housing was offered on site?
I think you'll have mixed reaction.
Really?
I don't know that some will feel that they can get away. Sometimes you just want to close your door, and when it's right downstairs, you might feel like, oh, I forgot that, or I need to go do that, or and sometimes you just want to turn off, obviously, and relax. And so I don't know how some would feel about that.
So for me, so this office is only about 2 minutes back right from my house, and it's like closer the better for me, right? So if I could move my office closer to my house, I would do it, right? But I can't find one like that, so. But this curious. That's why I was curious to know.
Like I said, it's not something I've ever thought of or that has ever come up, so I couldn't answer for everybody. I would think you'd get a mixed reaction.
So in 18 years, that's never come up.
That's never come up.
So
No.
does Addison have a lot of 2-story buildings already?
No, they don't have any. They will with the MP. They're having a new construction, so the MP room, the library will be above it.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's hard to build it above the MPU because then
Right. No. Yeah, that's
So it
going
has
to
to
be taller, but
it has to
otherwise, but Addison has a lot of the historical architecture and the arches and the different things. I don't know how the community would feel about that. Same thing like with Nixon, and I know they had an issue with even just changing the roof tiles. So when they were renovating, because of the community feel.
So what's your gut feel in terms of if we offered this? I mean, the other question is if we didn't do it there, so like if you do it at the courthouse, it's only going to be a few units there, and it's not just for Palo Alto.
It's for the whole county.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm talking to somebody now about this, but I really feel like it's a politician.
Well, that's
but,
it.
But the problem is it's going to come from county money.
It's county money and it's county land, so I mean that's understandable.
But it's not going to cut down the traffic flow, right? It's going to cause because people still have to drive to Mountain View or Mountain, depending where they're teaching, right? So that's why I was thinking about the schools themselves, right? If those could be teaching housing, right? But what's your gut feel? You said to be next. Do you think it'll be like majority one, majority wood? What's your?
Quite honestly, I I don't. It's never come up, so I really couldn't tell you on that. My first gut reaction was, yes, it's great in some ways, and not great in other ways. I mean, there's pros and cons to that, definitely. I would
Maybe
say.
we create two polls. We create one poll on, like, for the people that live around schools,
Mhm.
how would they be opposed or okay with that? And then maybe the other poll we'll create is one for teachers and ask, hey, would you, you know, uh, would this be the kind of housing you would like or not, or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Can't hurt to ask.
Well, I'm
That's
just
for
curious,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, the question is, what is the solution, right?
Right.
And there aren't too many because it's not like we have vast acres of open land,
No.
and it's not like we have like a big slush fund of cash that we could build. Anyway,
No, it's, I guess when there's a lot of new builds, there's so much low income housing that has to go in there. It almost maybe there should be also
that's
a
another idea.
requirement on middle income housing.
Well, I mean, what if that instead of low income housing, what if it was the BMR program was changed to say it has to be teacher housing?
Yeah.
Right. Instead, right? So, so that teachers could be in our community.
I think that would be a great idea too. Again, I don't think we should just get rid of all low income housing because I mean there's a need to.
Basically saying that hey,
yes.
if yeah, so that maybe that's another potential idea.
Yeah.
I don't even know how much you teachers make.
It depends on the step and column they're on.
What's the beginning? What's the
beginning? I want to say it's like about 55. I haven't looked at it recently, and then it goes up to about 135. But that's 30 years. When you hit max.
So there's a pretty big range.
There's a big range. But again, that's 30 years plus units. We have what we call step and column, so you move step with years, and then you have career increments when you get up higher. So you don't really move for 5 years at a time, 4 to 5 years, and then you can move columns, and that's the max is 90 units beyond your bachelor's.
I see.
So
And how do we compare against other?
we're doing, really well compared to other districts in our area, except for Mountain View, Los Altos High School District. That's always been the top. But depending on where,
Palo Alto?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
their high school district it's a high school
Because I
district.
thought we had higher ranked high schools than Mountain View.
Yeah, they're ranked pretty well too, but we do. Gun's always been like about number one.
Yeah.
But they pay higher, and their benefits are even better than ours. We have decent benefits, but
I'm not in the school board, so I don't follow that closely.
right, yeah.
Interesting. It's great to get a teacher's perspective because I don't hear it very often.
Yeah.
What about the school bond? Like, I'm not sure you heard the school board's thinking about doing a bond.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your thoughts about that?
Infrastructure is really important, and we're building on. Addison was lucky in that they're getting
Well, I think
anonymous,
incredible
donation.
Yeah,
So
incredible
that's
donation.
helpful. And I was
Yeah.
one on the school board, the board policy review committee, and I know it's anonymous and there was issues with that, but
Yeah.
I think if it's vetted money, then if somebody wants to help and doesn't want to give their name, that's wonderful that we get the help.
Well, I think that's one thing that.
Our schools are, getting older, some of them.
Well, no,
so
no, the other thing is
so
that-
we need the
Because as a parent, we always ask for pie donations, right? So we always give a donation to pie. But I think that's one of the benefits that Ultimate gets is that it has incredible parental support.
extremely. Teachers are so grateful for that support. Pie money helps in so many ways that you don't always see or know. Just even at Addison, just some of the extras are aids that we have in the classroom really helpful to us. From that, we have a science program that comes in from Palo Alto Museum. So just amazing things that we can have because of the parent support.
Interesting. So, so because I was just thinking about the infrastructure bond fund, right? If that was, if that happened, right? I think it's already set in stone. I'm not mistaken, but I'm just thinking like, to the problem of teacher housing. What if that was a little bit bigger, and so it could help pay for not just renovating, but maybe actually adding teacher housing at the schools, right? I mean, what would that?
Definitely be interesting, to see
Yeah, I mean,
how that would work
could that?
and if that would pass.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's two issues. Right? One is
Yeah.
would teachers accept it, and the other one is
Right.
would the residents accept it? And I don't know.
I mean, I think being at a city council meeting for that was more about rents and stuff, there was a lot of support of having, again, that missing middle come back. I know I heard a lot of residents say that their communities used to be a lot more diverse, and now that everything's getting so expensive, they're not as diverse. So
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. Okay. Is there anything else that the city can do that would help the schools?
I think just being supportive, getting the word out. I think the short term is really I don't know how to get the word out. Is there a way to match teachers with people who have units of their own, that type of thing?
There's just not that many units.
But I think there's probably more than we realize.
I mean, I was looking at the EDU report, right?
Okay.
It's just like a handful of EDUs that being built. I mean, so it's not
being
like
built, but I think there's quite a few, and
Maybe.
some people might own something else
Yeah.
too. There might be people who own
Yeah.
properties that
Yeah.
are rental, who
Yeah.
just aren't really thinking, oh, our teachers are that in need,
Yeah.
type of a thing.
Huh. Yeah,
Getting
I mean,
the word out there for that, because
I'll be open to that. I just don't know.
I'm getting a list of teachers who need housing,
Yeah.
so but I have no one really to match them up with, because every once in a while the district hears from somebody who said, oh, I have a house coming up for rent that I own and I'd like to rent it to a teacher.
Oh, I see. Actually, that's a good idea.
You know what I mean? Things like that.
Some sort of registry or something.
Yes, because so I've gotten a list, and then but I have 40 people on it just initially, and because it's a new list, and they're like, oh, I haven't heard anything. I'm like, oh, well, I got this list, but there's one unit available, so I'm trying not to get people's hopes up. But,
No, I think that's a good idea too, because I do know that there are probably landlords here who would want to support teachers, right?
Right.
And so that's a good idea. Yeah. I don't know how common it is, to be honest.
No, but we don't know until we ask, I guess. And I've been very lucky in Mountain View where I am. It was privately owned. They are trying to sell it, but they've been very supportive of me in not raising my rents outrageously every year and keeping it affordable for me, just because they can and they feel like it's a good thing, even though I'm not teaching in Mountain View. They just know I'm a teacher and have been very supportive. So to find more. And I'm sure there's tons of people out there like that.
Yeah, no, it's true. So, so just for you personally, like when do you have to move out of Mountain View?
Just waiting it hasn't been sold yet, so we're just waiting to see.
Oh wow, so that means you gotta find something sometime soon.
I could, yes.
Okay.
Potentially I might, I think I'd get 60 days notice.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you have 60 days for when they sell it too.
I would imagine, yeah.
Okay.
I think 60.
And how's the
lease.
search been?
Not very promising. My rent will increase by quite a bit. Yeah, and even going into those older ones, it's going to increase.
Some people have been telling me that rents have been kind of like flat, not really going down a bit. I'm not sure if that you've seen.
It's harder for me because I have really decent rents. So for me, anything's going to be an increase. So, which is hard. I'm a professional. And I feel like I'm living a life I should be able to live as a professional, and that's going to change.
Well, I was one of our office hours. I was talking to someone, and she teaches at Stanford, and like she told me about how hard it is to scrape by. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like shocking, right? And
it is.
I think she had a PhD or something like that. Like,
yeah.
Wow, it's like.
And I have a master's degree.
It's like wow.
It's kind of hard to believe sometimes. Like that I'm only doing okay because I have a kind landlady. So, which is kind of sad, but I'm a lucky one right now. We'll see.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to think of creative ideas like teacher housing on the school sites.
Yeah.
But
something I can bring back and talk about as well.
Yeah, thanks. In fact, maybe when we create a poll, what we'll do is we'll email it to you, and then maybe you can help distribute that among the teachers just to see, like, because if let's say the residents are cool with it, but the teachers really just don't accept it for whatever reason, then that's dead on arrival. Right. The teachers are all pretty accepting of it, and
Yeah,
the
I'd
rest
be
are
happy to do that.
accepting of it,
Mhm.
then it might have legs, right?
Right.
So okay, is there anything else that we should talk about? I mean, yeah, I'd like to bring up, discuss.
No, that was really why I was here because
Okay.
it's so important. I've been working with support teacher housing and Bay Area.
Oh, have you guys actually
Board and
organized?
stuff. I've been to some of their events and have spoken at them.
Mm.
So just Sarah reached out to me, and she's been really a great advocate
Mm.
for teachers. So.
Yeah, well, I'm a huge fan of teachers as well. So that's like the whole reason why we moved here to Palo Alto was for the education. So
It is amazing, and being president of PAEA, I get to go out, and see amazing teachers out there, and some of the things they're doing is just great, and the students too. Being at board meetings and having them come up and speak, they just always, I'm in awe of the students we have here, the talent, and so it's a great place to work, just
That's
a
good.
hard place to live.
well, let's figure out ways to make it easier. And if you have other ideas, I mean, the look people say, oh yeah, let's create a bunch of houses for teachers, and the question is like, how, right? And of course, the question is how, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in other ideas how to do that. Yeah. So, okay, awesome. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Very much. Nice meeting you. Good day.
Okay.
Okay.